Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show, your daily fix of football chat from Scottish football and beyond. And the main talking points tonight on the programme, Mixu Patalainen and Mark McGee look all set for a return to management in Scotland. Niall McGinn picks up the Player of the Month award for September up there at Aberdeen. And we'll also have former Scotland boss Alex McLeish as our guest in the boot room in the second part of the programme. That's all to look forward to. Ruffy is alongside me here. I'm looking forward to having a wee chat with Alex McLeish. But as far as management on the domestic front goes, we have two guys who are about to return to the game. One of them, Mark McGee, at Motherwell. Ruffy.
Yeah, and Mark's been down in England at club level for a long time. Obviously, Gordon asked him to help him out. I think he's got a taste for it again. Very opposite for Gordon. I think he now would relish the day-to-day involvement with players, where I noticed that Gordon had said you don't have to deal with the day-to-day rubbish that you get at a club, and that's why he's with the national side. And I think it'll be the exact opposite for Mark. I think he'll enjoy being out in the pitch and training with players and working with them day-to-day. But I think it's a challenge, a big challenge for him after the success that Motherwell had, the top three place, and then the year that they had last year.
Well, strangely enough, I think it's easier because of what they had last year, because you have a manager who leaves, you have another one who comes in, and if you look at the bigger picture, he may well have kept Motherwell in the division, but overall, I don't think he succeeded Ian Barraclough. So this is a chance for Mark McGee to take them in an upward direction.
Yeah, and the good thing about it as well, Mark going back there, I don't think there'll be so many players there that he worked with the first time. There will be two or three, but certainly he's got a fresh bunch of players to work with. Let them get his ideas and how he wants to play. It'll be interesting to see if Mr. Hutchison releases some money in the window so that he can go and bring some of his own players in, because he will have identified a lot of players down in England at the time he was down there. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of player he's going to bring to Motherwell.
Yeah, I think this time around, I mean, he was well liked at Motherwell, to be perfectly honest with you, Ruffy. I mean, you finished third. They got into European football. It was a short spell of 2 years. You know, I think he'll be hoping that maybe this one lasts a bit longer. Now, I get the feeling from Mark McGee that when he looks back in his career, he sometimes made rash decisions in going away from clubs too early. Yeah,
but the plus side of that was he was headhunted. You know, he was doing particularly well at the clubs he was, most of the clubs he was at, you know, and he went to a bigger club for whatever reason. It didn't work out, and these things happen in managerial football, there's no doubt about that. But he'll know what Motherwell's all about, and he'll know what the supporters are about, and I'm sure he'll do well.
Yeah, second time around, Ruffy, I was trying to put a list together of managers that it works out for second time around. I don't think it worked out second time around for Jock Wallace. I'm thinking of Kenny Dalglish. To an extent, it did work out well for him, Liverpool, second time around, because they won the League Cup, and I think it's until Rafa Benitez 2005. There was a long period where Liverpool didn't win anything. Jose Mourinho's won the league with Chelsea, if we're looking down south. But not too many people have success second time around.
No, we tend to not think about managers second time around, but players. You know, you always say it doesn't work if you're a player going back to the club. You can't reach the heights you just left. But I think it'd be different for Mark. I think all the experience that he's had, and particularly at the international level as well, I think he can bring a lot to Motherwell. And I'm sure the Motherwell supporters might see a different style of play.
And as we sit here right now, Ruffy, it looks as if Mixu Patalainen could be the man who's getting the nod at Dundee United.
Yeah, again, they've obviously looked at his CV, the style of football more than anything else that he played at Hibs and at Kilmarnock. It was good to watch in the eye, there's no doubt about that, and certainly again he's had the international experience as well. But again, I think he's got the hardest job of the two, trying to get them back up that league.
Yeah, does it help that he was a former player?
Well, that was in his younger days. As I was telling you, I was playing with Celtic reserves when he played for Dundee United reserves, a young boy coming in. I think he was on a week's trial. So, no, I don't think being a past player will affect him at all. I think they'll see him as his experience as a manager more than anything else.
Yeah, how big a job is that, Ruffy? Does he inherit a good squad there, or will he need the chairman to delve into his kitty?
Well, he's certainly got the best of both worlds. He's got young players there. He needs to bring them through. You know, he's got them. They're playing first team football. If he can just get a wee bit more out of them, but I think he'll want to delve into the transfer market as well. You know, and he's got contacts all over the place. So, but again, they'll have to wait until January to see what happens.
Yeah, and Tommy Wright, who was a target for Dundee United, he said he just couldn't see himself leaving St Johnstone and the players that he has at his disposal there. I think he's bought into what the board there have said, that if you stick with St Johnstone, there could be a bigger club down the line for you.
Yeah, well, you have to look at the past St Johnstone managers. They all went on to bigger and better things, and the club never stood in their way at all. If it was a better club, I'm sure he'll be happy in the comfort of the security of the new contract, and obviously better terms as well. But the most pleasing thing for him will be the success of the St Johnstone team and the way that they're playing.
Now, I've got to get this. Where are we? The 13th of October, Ruffy. I knew it was going to take maybe a couple of days before somebody suggested a complete rethink on Scottish football. Henry McLeish, the former First Minister, again has called on a meeting of the great and the good to discuss a complete revamp of the Scottish game. I wouldn't entertain it.
No, it took very long the last time. I think it took 2 or 3 years, you know, and then we had the pyramid debate that went on for years as well. I think it's good to talk about these things when out of season rather than during it. You know, if there's going to be any tweaking here or there, let's do it when we're not playing football. But it'd be interesting to see what they're going to come up with, because I think it's enjoyable just now. I think we're getting the playoffs, we're getting the excitement. I'm still not too sure about the split, but I certainly think that the clubs are enjoying it.
Yeah, you think we're all right at the moment?
I think we are. I think I enjoyed the playoffs last year, going down the divisions, and I enjoyed the excitement, and it's given everybody a chance, particularly the championship.
I don't think he's worried about the structure, Ruffy. I think he's worried about the fact that we don't have the players that can get us to major championships.
Well,
he's talking about the overall.
I'd love to know what his ideas are then. I'd love to know what he's going to come up with.
Well, he has. It's called Think Tank 2, Ruffy. Did you miss it? There are we've had 2 think tanks which have delivered diddly squat.
Well, exactly.
Just basically down to the fact that each club is only interested in themselves. There's self-interest, you know. I think greed drives it on. Once we get to a situation, I think it'll become even more difficult again next year. If Rangers go back into the top flight, if the money is suddenly flowing back into the top clubs, suddenly again I think we'll start to see a greater influx of foreign players. I mean, I can count back 2 or 3 generations of Scottish players that never got a kick of the ball in Scottish football when there was money around, Ruffy. I mean, one of them's the manager of Aberdeen right now. He never got a kick at Rangers when he was trying to get into that team. There are so many players that we missed out on from 1998 onwards. So I don't understand where Henry McLeish, again on Think Tank 3, if it develops, is suddenly going to revive our game.
No, I agree with you 100%. The influx of the foreign players was not only it ruined a lot of guys who never got a game, but it ruined the clubs as well. Just about every club that delved into it nearly went down the tubes. St Mirren was one of them, had international stars for Spain playing, and everybody, Hearts, Dundee United as well, Aberdeen had the Dutch influx up there, and everybody tried it, and then obviously the financial side it fell out of it, and the young players suffered.
Here's something we can do at the weekend, Robbie. On Saturday, for the starting 11 in each team in the Premiership in Scotland, let's count how many Scottish home-based players are kicking a ball.
Yeah, I think the interesting one, the debate we had, was how many have come through the actual club and playing in the first team, and I think it'll be alarming when you really delve into it and look at the teams who are looking at young players and giving them a chance.
Yep, and it's not often we get a chance to mention Willie Miller on here, but he did have an interesting article in the papers this morning that I thought was right on the mark, Ruffy. And just briefly, Scottish fans cheering failure. It's almost as if we're getting used to it. I think the majority of Scottish fans, certainly, wherever they come from, I think they look upon it as a holiday rather than trying to actually place any greater pressure on our international side to do well.
Yeah, it'd have been interesting if they did that same reaction if we had to go to Poland and win that game. I know Gibraltar was 6-0. I always remember the Holland game when we get beat 6-0 over there, and everybody was standing there cheering as a player, a defeat like that, you just want to get off the park and reassess what's happening. So I would agree with Willie 100%. We have to start looking at success rather than celebrating failure.
Yeah, absolutely. I know certainly from all the people that I managed to get on the bus and get out to the airport when you returned in '78, we gave you absolute pelters, Ruffy. There was no cheering when you get off that plane, let me tell you. OK, we'll see if Ruffy will come back for the second part of the programme, because we're going to speak to former Scotland boss Alex McLeish just to see if he's got a wee insight into Gordon and what he hopes to do himself getting back into club football. It's all next.
Hi, I'm Chris Sutton. To win this beautiful signed shirt from me, which club did Celtic sign me from?
Hi, I'm Craig Turnbull, and don't forget you can watch the PLZ Soccer news headlines Monday to Friday by clicking on the link below.
Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're into the second part of the programme. The main talking points from the first part, of course, Mixu Patalainen and Mark McGee all set to return to Scottish football and management at Motherwell and Dundee United respectively. And also Henry McLeish, the former First Minister, is calling for a complete revamp of the Scottish game. You can give us your thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. We're into the boot room now. Our guest, I'm delighted to say, is Alex McLeish. We caught up with him late last night to get his thoughts on his own personal situation and, of course, the international manager's position and his friend Gordon Strachan. And as you can see, I think we caught up with him at his new home in the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery.
The Boot Room, sponsored by Third Dimension Framing.
Delighted to have Alex McLeish in the boot room. Alex, Scotland didn't qualify for the European Championships. Your gut feeling, I would imagine, is that Gordon will now assess things with his wife Leslie and maybe stay on as manager?
Well, I think he should. Yeah, that's my opinion. But Gordon, he's got his own mind, and I think he's done a good job. He's got the best out of the guys. The only niggling thing that I'm sure he will try to address if he does stay on is the amount of silly goals that we lost. You know, we didn't actually get a doing in terms of our defending, because defenders were quite rugged, they played quite solidly, but there was just that wee element of a wee blip or a wee soft goal, you know, like that second goal Lewandowski scored the other night there. How it got through the wall, I'll never know. And it ended up hitting the post, running along the line, the back of the net. And, you know, it just seems like there's been too much bad luck and for there not to be a reason.
We certainly hope he's going to stay, Alec, but let's hypothetically say Gordon decides, you know, enough is enough, he's tried with what he has available. If he says no and we have to look elsewhere, are you a candidate?
I'm still keen to get back into club football at the moment, and again, you're right. It's hypothetical, so it's no a question that I'd really want to make a comment on. But at the moment, I think the way Gordon's lifestyle is, it suits him down to a T. You know, he's doing television, his fingers on the pulse on everybody sees games, his scouts, the guys are out and about watching games. And he's very thorough. He's a very thorough coach. And I think he's built a really good team spirit in there. And, you know, but for being in the group of death and losing some daft goals, then, I just get the feeling we're not far away. And that group probably will peak for the next competition. And then, you know, we'll have to look probably to the future beyond that. But certainly, at the moment, they will be ripe to go into that tournament next year, the World Cup. We've already got to start looking at that and not keep drowning our sorrows every single day. We just have to accept it now.
You've been in obviously the Scotland manager's post before, and I said to Peter last week there, a big decision for Gordon would be the reaction of the likes of the media, the fans, obviously his family as well. If you were in that position, which of these ones would it be that would sway you to stay on?
Well, I think your family is obviously important, really important, to take the advice and talk with them as well. But you know, if the fans are loving you, then that's what a coach thrives on. A coach or manager thrives on making the punters happy. And yeah, they're not happy at not qualifying again. There'll be a few gripes. There'll be the odd bit of trolling on the social networks. But I think, bottom line, Gordon's got the majority there behind him. And that's what a coach loves. He loves to be regarded by the punters. And, you know, they're the guys that really are the key to decision-making of chairmen and boards of directors all over the world in modern-day football.
Let's look at the squad then, Alec. He's got a big decision to make if he does take the job. He's got maybe some players that another championships is beyond them. Do you think we have enough young talent coming through there that he would be able to tweak it and get them ready for the World Cup qualifiers?
Well, I'm not sure how strong it is, you know, below. I know you've got boys like Johnny Russell at Derby who've done well in the championship, and he was a star with Dundee United. You've got other young Dundee United players, the boys that went to Celtic, Mackay Stephen, and Stuart, remind me of Stuart's second name.
Armstrong.
Stuart Armstrong, two really good young players. And you would think that if Rangers come up, then they would try and capture the good young talents in Scotland that are there and thereabouts. You know, we need to rely on guys like Ricky Sprague now. I think further down the line, if you go way down to the grassroots, there seems to be a little bit of intensity bubbling up between the boys' clubs and the academies, you know, the way that the clubs are running the academies. Maybe there's got to be some kind of solution found there, because after all, it's 20 odd years since we qualified for a major tournament, and it just can't keep going on. We have to get into this next World Cup.
Yeah, I've got to ask you about yourself. You mentioned there that you really want to get back into club football. Sometimes it can be difficult just waiting on that right job. I presume you still want another crack at the Premier League in England.
That would be my ideal, yeah. That would be the number one choice. But my ego is not big enough, too big that I can say that I wouldn't take a championship job. But what I would like is to get a crack a couple of years, 2 or 3 years at a club to try and bed something in. You know, I went to Racing Genk last year. It was a club in turmoil when I arrived there. The fans were fighting with the directors, and players were fighting with each other. The press hammered them about their lack of quality. They were 13th at the time, and okay, I didn't quite do the miracle of fighting for to win the championship, but we weren't far away. You know, we were about a point away from getting into Europe as well. So, you know, but it was only 10 months I was there, and I signed an agreement for a year and decided that I would assess it after a year. I didn't feel that there was a lot of ambition from the club last year, although since I've left and the new coach has come in, they've bought about 10 players. So perhaps if I'd stayed, then maybe there would have been the change necessary to take them to a higher level. But they're still kind of round about the same level as when I left them. But you know, that was a great wee job, and I did that in a kind of crash course. But I would love a crack maybe for a couple of years at a club, just working with the people upstairs in a good way, because that's when I've had my success.
Yeah, and just briefly, Alec, we'd all love to see your old team Aberdeen sustain a challenge. How impressed have you been with them this season?
Well, I went to the St Johnstone game last week, so that wasn't very impressive. But in saying that, they did lose, goals from set pieces, which suggested that on the day they either lost their concentration or they're not very good at defending them. And St Johnstone were very good in their preparations. I'm not sure. I think it was an off day, but they've had 3 off days in a row now, and Derek will be anxious to get them back in the winning trail. It's good to see them mount the challenge. I think the key is keeping their strongest players available, and unfortunately, if some of these guys get injured, it's very difficult. In that St Johnstone game, there were about 3 or 4 players missing. Celtic have got the advantage of having a really strong squad and some quality and depth that makes me feel certain that Celtic will win the league again.
Alec, as ever, we'd love to talk to you for a lot longer, but great to get you on the programme, and fingers crossed from myself and Ruffy that you get that crack at the Premier League again. You deserve it. Thanks for joining us.
Modern day technology. Thanks, guys.
Top man.
The Boot Room, sponsored by Third Dimension Framing.
There you are, Ruffy. A wee Gerard Burns painting in the background as well. He looked as if he was in fine fettle.
Yeah, and it's good that he hasn't forgotten that you do need that 4-year contract at a new club, just in case something happens.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, I'd love to see him get back in, because I think, when you look at the job that he did at Rangers over a long period of time, and the constraints that he had as well, all the more remarkable. But of course, Scotland as well, he did a great job. Great to have Alex McLeish from Ruffy and myself. Join us tomorrow if you can on the Football Show. Thanks for watching Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. If you enjoyed the programme and you'd like to see much more, click on plzsoccer.com. We've got archive programmes from Peter and Ruffy. We've got the Boot Room, Dream Team, all the latest up-to-date news in Scottish football and beyond. And you can win yourself a few prizes for the competitions on each of the pages. There's lots more content. All you have to do is click on plzsoccer.com.